Hello, my name is Melissa Brown. I am the director of ePlan, and I'm here today to show you how to do a security grant reimbursement request. I'm going to share my screen and walk you through the process. I use a test site to do these webinars. So you will see in red, this is a test site. I'm using any private school here. This would also work for any LEA or organization. The same process is followed for reimbursement request. So the first thing that you will want to do is log into ePlan. So once you are logged into ePlan, it will bring you to the home page. And I want you to go and open TDOE resources, which is found underneath the address book. So I'm going to click on that tab, and it brings up all of our folders in TDOE resources. We want to click on number 2, the user resources for ePlan help, and then we want to open the reimbursement request instructions. And I'm not able to open that on test, but this is what it would look like if I was able to open it. So I will walk through all of the steps that are outlined in this document, but I wanted you to know where this document is so you could kind of follow along with what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So one thing I would like to point out about reimbursement requests on the first page is that they can only be done after that application has been fully approved. We can only include line items from the approved application budget and only submit for expenses that have already taken place. They can only be done with somebody with the LEA fiscal representative role, and they can only be submitted one at a time per grant per fiscal year. Those requests can take 5 to 7 days to be approved and paid through Edison. And then these are the steps here of a reimbursement request. I will be able to do the first 2 steps in this webinar. So I will hit draft started, enter the information, and then draft completed after I've completed everything. And then after that, the grant management team would approve. This is our local finance team here at Tennessee Department of Education. And then after they approve a request, the system sends it to Edison. Edison accepts it, and then Edison will pay it. So the steps, the 5 to 7 days is after grant management has approved it to do step 4, 5, and 6 can take that 5 to 7 days. I will touch upon a lot of this information throughout this webinar, but wanted to highlight this document that will help you follow along. So now that we're signed into ePlan, I want you to go to the reimbursement request tab. And then you have the option of selecting reimbursement request or search reimbursement request. I'm not going to cover the search today, so we're just going to hit the reimbursement request. And that brings us to this page where we could see the non-public school security grant. For LEAs, you will see the public school security grant or be able to select it from your current applications. So the grant here is underlined, and we're going to click on that in a moment, but wanted to show you some information on this main page. So for this test, I have a available budget of $25,000, and that total available amount is $25,000. I have not received any money yet from this grant, so we still have $25,000 remaining, and we do not have any pending request amounts. So if you go to your reimbursement request page and you see the grant, but you see $0 available, this would tell you that your current funding application has not been approved by TDOE. But once that TDOE has approved your application, any money that you had in that approved application budget will show up in this dollar amount column here. And then once you've had a reimbursement request paid, then you will see that in the received amount column. But right now we're going on, this is the first reimbursement request that will be submitted. So to start that, click on that underlined non-public school security grant. And then we have some new project information that will appear. This project number is just random. It's usually the fiscal year with some variation on your school name and number. And then when that application was approved. So I approved this earlier on test, so I could do this webinar. And then we have the begin and end dates, and that follows the current fiscal year. So that is July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. It shows that 25,000 was allocated and 25,000 is available in the budget. And this will allow carryover right now. And so we see this create new reimbursement request. So this will be the first thing that we do to get started on making this request. After you click that, you will be brought to this confirmation screen, just asking you to confirm that you are changing the status to draft started. Click confirm. And then we are brought to us the reimbursement request sections page. So there are 3 pages that you're going to need to do here: the expenditure details, the request, and the related documents. The history log and create a comment are available with every reimbursement request, just like they are available for funding applications. So I'm going to start by hitting expenditure details. And this page brings up every account number and line item that is available in that approved application. So when I mentioned earlier that the reimbursement request, you can only ask for money from line items that are in that approved application, this page will be able to tell you which line items are in that budget. So anytime you see a white box where you could enter numbers, those are ones that are in the application. So $499 other supplies and materials is in 71100 in that application. It is not in 72130 or 72210 or 72620. So you need to match up the line items and the account numbers that you have in the budget. Now you have the ability to download that budget and be able to look at it as you're doing the reimbursement request. Or this page will also give you information on how much money you have in each individual line item that you could spend. So when I hover in that white box, it will show me the budgeted amount. So for 71100, there is $200 that I could expend on other supplies and materials. And then when you hover over all the other boxes, it will show you what your budgeted amount is and for that specific line item. You have the option to either submit one reimbursement request that covers the entire budget, or you could submit multiple reimbursement requests as you make spends along the way. In terms of which would be the recommended method, I would advise you to speak with Bennett and Kimberly and Josh from Tennessee Department of Education on how many and how the reimbursement request you should do. But you have the option to either budget all of the money, put all the budgeted money in these expenditure details, or partial amounts. So I'm going to go ahead and put 200, like I've spent all of this money for $499. And as soon as I click out of that box, we're going to see some additional numbers appear. So we have totals that go across that are there, totals that go on the bottom, and then a grand total that will be in the bottom right. The way that those numbers get inputted or updated is by making updates into the white text box fields. So I'm going to not put anything for that particular item. And then for this one, I'm going to go ahead and say we spent all of that. And then for this item, I'm going to mark that we did part of that. And when I click in that, that brings my grand total to 14,700. Now I'm going to, after I submit this initial request, I'm also going to show you how to do your second request. So, but for this purpose, this is just the initial request that I'm going to do. So I'm going to save and go to the next page, and you could do the save and go to down here or the save and go to up here. They both navigate and go to the same area. So I'm going to hit that save and go to the next page. And that brings me to the request page. So this has a lot of the summary information number on it. This tells me that this is the first reimbursement request. And then we have our allocation and budget. And then in red, this shows how much money we are asking for, and then the amount requested again. And so I'm going to put the fiscal information as of date. So you can either put in that date. So if I do this date, I could put it in like this, or I could put in the same date using the calendar hold. Now, there was a recent update that allowed fiscal information to be outside of the current fiscal year. So you could put in requests from back to March 27th through June 30th. It doesn't have to only be on July 1, but let me show you that the system will not let you put in June 20th. Well, it will let you do it, and then we're going to save and go back out to the section page. But the system is going to tell me I have an error on that request. So I have this messages that appear in the validations. I click on that message and it says that the fiscal information as of date needs to be between 7/1 and 6/30/2024. So I'm going to click review and show you if you have any requests that are outside of this fiscal year. If you have anything between March 27th, 2023 and June 30th, 2023, this is how you should input those requests. So your fiscal information, we know we saw that error, will need to follow the fiscal year. So I'm going to put July 1 because that's the very beginning of the fiscal year. And then I'm going to save and go back out to the section page. And now that message has gone away. I don't have that request validation error anymore. But I want to let the state know what date this request is for. So you go out to the create a comment. So I'm going to go back out here again. So on the section page underneath the history log is the create comment. Go ahead and click that create comment. And then you're going to input this request is for, and then fill in the date that is prior to July 1. I will put April 10th, 2023 for this. And then you could save and go to the sections page to save that comment. Any comment that you make in a reimbursement request or a funding application is viewable when you click on the history log. So when I click on that history log, I can see that I put in this request is for April 10th. 2023. So then this becomes part of the record to show where that reimbursement request happened. So I'm going to go back out to the main section page, and we've entered our expenditure details. We've entered our request. The last page that we need to do is hit related documents. Under related documents, we are required to upload at least one document of supporting documentation. For the purposes of this reimbursement request, I'm going to upload 3 because I had 3 budget entries and I have 3 documents that I saved for those budget entries. But you could have one document that has multiple invoices on it and you just do one upload. or you could do 10 uploads. You could do as many as that you need, but you have to do at least one upload that supports any dollars that you are requesting. So if it's an invoice, if it's a contract, anything along those lines, you could upload it. I'm going to hit upload new, and then I'm going to go select one of my files. I have a webinar folder that I use, and I'm going to input, and you could do one receipt at a time. So I'm going to do the door receipt. I'm going to hit open, and then one thing that you could do if you don't want to have to retype that, you can kind of put your click and drag across. And I'm going to hit Control C. I'll hit Control V, and then I'll create. And then now that receipt is here. And then I have two more that I'm going to upload. So the system remembers where I was. So I'm going to go through and now grab this training document. And it is a good practice to put as much specificity in those names that you can, so that when the reviewers are looking at these reimbursement request related documents, they know which document is which. So I'm going to go and do one more. And I have a receipt for walkie-talkies that I will add. So again, I'm dropping my mouse right at that S and dragging it to the left, hit Control C, Control V, and hit create. So now I have my 3 that will support this reimbursement request. I will save and go back out to the sections page. So you have this assurances that shows up here, but this is just a part of every reimbursement request, that you are agreeing to be bound by these requirements and regulations outlined below. So there's nothing that you need to do on this page, but you should be aware that it is there. So I'm going to go back out to the section page, and now I've done everything I needed to. I'm going to hit draft complete. And now I get an additional confirmation box. By signing this report, I certify to the best of my knowledge and belief that this report is true. And then it goes through the rest of what we are confirming here. And then you check the box and click confirm. If I try to hit confirm without it, I get that message. Please check the box to agree to the message. So you will check that box and hit confirm. And then the status change has succeeded. So because I'm on test, I have this message that an object could not be found. You don't need to worry about that. And then I'm going to hit return. So at this point in time, we've hit draft started and draft complete, and now we're just waiting for the grant management team at TDOE to approve that status. And then once they approve it, again, that will go to this Edison to finalize those payments. So now when I'm back onto that project summary page, I could see this current reimbursement request so the current status is draft completed. So I'm going to pull this over again. So from draft completed, it will change to grants management approved, and then submitted to state, and then state accounting system accepted, and then state accounting system paid. And then I'm going to go back out to the reimbursement request page. And now our numbers have changed a little bit to show now we have a pending request amount. So once the system has paid that and there's been a voucher created, then this 14,700 will then be over here in the receipt amount. But if I go in there prior to that being paid, that create new reimbursement request is not here, again, because this hasn't been fully paid yet. Once it's paid and there's a voucher number here, that create new reimbursement request will be here. So that is everything on how to submit your initial request. I'm going to go through and search for and do a second reimbursement request. Now I'm going to do this for a different grant, but this is the same process that you would do for your second security grant reimbursement request. So you go to the reimbursement request tab, you click on reimbursement request, and then for the purposes of doing this test webinar, I'm going to do the elementary and secondary school emergency relief. I'm going to do another request for this. So they've done one request here. I just have a generic district that has done one request for 107,000, and that has been paid. So it went through its final step. It has a voucher number. So now we have a create new reimbursement request here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that second request and show you how you would do a second request. So you will get to this confirmation message, which is the same as on your first one. You will hit confirm. And then we're going to have the same 3 pages that we will enter information. So we have our expenditure details. I will start with that. So one thing I would like to note on this page, on your second or third or fourth request, it will pre-fill with how much money you have spent to date in those different budget line items. So I cannot, so we've spent so far $12,659.38 in instructional supplies and materials and 7,100. If I now have, so I'm going to hover over here and see that there's 38,000 that's actually budgeted, $38,944.05 exactly. But if I'm going to now, at this second request, I'm going to ask for 10,000. I don't adjust this to 10,000. I add the 10,000 to the current number that is here. So we don't change. These are always going to be expenditure details to date. So we've already had 12,659. This number can either stay the same or it can get higher. It cannot get lower than what it is when you first open the second or third or fourth request. So if I'm going to ask for 10,000 here, then I'm going to adjust this to $22,659. And then I'm going to click off that page. And then over here, I'm going to hover over that budgeted amount. And this is 56,764. And so if I make this, 12,000, and even 12,000, then we're asking for a little bit more. And each time we're adding more numbers to here, our total numbers are also accumulating. And so if I hover over this again, so this number 504 and direct costs can be 4,344. There has been nothing on here yet. I'm going to leave that as nothing. I'm not going to add to that. So again, on this page, the number will stay the same or it will increase. You cannot decrease any numbers on this page. So I'm going to save and go to the next page. And then here is our fiscal information as of. You will need to put a date between July 1st and July of 2023 and June 30th of 2024. So once you have that request in, I'm going to put this one at September 5th. Then I'm going to save and go to the next page, which will be our related documents. And I will upload another document, or I'm going to do the final invoice for training. So I'm going to put my mouse right at that G and drag it over, hit Control C and hit Control V and hit create. And now I have our final invoice training here. So now I'm going to go back out to the sections page and I'm going to click draft completed, and that will have completed my next reimbursement request. And then we're back to the grants management needing to approve. And those last 3 steps after grants management approved are submitted to state accounting system accepted, and state accounting system paid. So having this document on hand is definitely very helpful, but there is also this help for current page is available when you're in the reimbursement request area. And so there's 2 topics here, and I'm not gonna, these are gonna look a little different when you look at them as to when I do it, but those reimbursement request workflow steps, those same draft started, draft complete, grant management approved, all of those are here and outlined by who does what in those different steps. So that is everything for reimbursement requests on how to submit that first one and how to submit the second one. And wanted to make sure everybody was aware of where they could find that information and TDOE resources for the instructions. And I hope this was helpful, and have a great day.